Hello everyone, welcome back to another card tutorial. Today I'm showing you how I made my daughter's first birthday card. This card is so cute, it's super girly, and it's made with one of the stamp sets that I bought myself after Christmas. So as we get started, I'm just going to show you this wrapping paper that I bought, and it just happens to have almost an identical design to the stamp set that I'm using today. This is the Flower Girl stamp set by Waffle Flower. And I also have the matching dies for this, which is going to make cutting this out much easier than doing it by hand. To get started, I'm cutting out my card front. I'm just measuring it on my 5x7 card base and making it just a little bit smaller so that I have a white border around the edge. I'm using a bunch of pink Distress Oxide inks for my background today. I'm using some worn lipstick, spun sugar, and picked raspberries. I'm just going to do some big splotches of these all over. I didn't want the background to be what I typically do, which is going from light to dark. I wanted it to just be a mix of colours all over the place. So I went in with my lightest colour first, and then added my darker colours, and then went over those lighter colours again just to blend them out. Once that was done, I used some of the picked raspberry in my regular Distress ink, sprayed down my background to give it just a little bit of texture, and then used some water to wet down my ink on my mat, and then I just splattered it all over my background. I love doing this with matching colours that I've used for my ink blending already. It just adds so many layers of texture to the background. And of course, I'm using my gold watercolour pigments just for some extra sparkle. Once that was done, I put it aside to dry, and it was time to get my stamping done. I love this stamp set so much. This girl is just so beautiful. I love the detail in Waffle Flower stamps. So I'm just going to use some black ink for this, and I'm going to ink her up a couple of times so that the lines on this are really clear and crisp, because I find Waffle Flower's designs are done with quite thin lines, and I like them to be nice and clear. And here she is once she's stamped out. So beautiful. Today I'm going to be colouring her in with some Copics for her skin and her hair. And then for her dress, I'm going to be watering down some of my Distress Oxide inks. I'll leave you with some music as I do these steps. Once this was done, I let her dry for a little bit, but I may not have let her dry quite long enough. And I forgot to use my anti-static powder, so her dress didn't quite turn out as neat as I had hoped. So here I am using the flower portion of the stamp to decorate the bottom, stamping with some clear embossing ink and using my Ranger Gold embossing powder to colour those flowers. It was a bit messy, but I was going to die cut her, so I wasn't too worried about the little flecks around the edges, but I wish my flowers were a little bit clearer. I also stamped out a crown and die cut that out too. I'm really glad that I bought the set with the matching dies for this one, because this dress is so intricate and I cannot imagine cutting around all of those little leaves. To decorate my background, I wanted some clouds, so I'm using my clouds from my Stitched Rainbow die set from Lawn. Now that my background has dried, I'm rounding off the corners just to tidy things up a little bit. I felt like my background needed just something else. The clouds were going to be really cute, but my background is pretty big in comparison to the clouds and the girl. So to fill it in just a little bit more, I'm mostly using excess ink off my blending brush and my Lawn Fawn cloud stencil. And I'm just making some cloudy shapes in the background. This kind of fills it in just a little bit better. Before I get sticking everything down, I'm going to be adding some white details to the girl. Not too much though, because her dress was already so decorative, I didn't want to add too many things to that. To give the front of my card a bit of dimension, I added some foam squares to the back of the girl. I also did this to some of the clouds. Before I stick her down, I thought it would be cute to cut some wings from one of the dies in the set out of some vellum, and I'm using some Wink of Stella over it to give it just a really fine, shiny look. I'm going to stick these on her back now before I stick her down. These did curl up a little bit once that ink had dried, but to me it just added a bit more dimension, so I wasn't too fazed by that. Now is the time I'm going to add my double-sided tape to the back of my card before I start adding dimension to the front. For my sentiment, I'm going to keep it super simple, just a gold embossed happy birthday. And as you can see, I remembered to use my anti-static powder this time, and I'm using the happy birthday stamps from the same stamp set. I'm using gold embossing powder for these, just for some continuity on the front of this card. After playing around with the placement of my clouds, my sentiment and my girl, I finally began to start sticking all of these pieces down. Once my card front was complete, it was time to remove the backing to my double-sided tape and adhere it to my card base. And with that, this card is complete, ready for my daughter's first birthday. Soon I'll be sharing some of the other things that I made for her birthday party. But for now, I'll leave you with some photos of this finished card. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and please don't forget to subscribe. I'll be back soon with another crafty tutorial. Bye for now.